views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello, my friends. Hola, amigos, amigas, amistades. Welcome to another episode of the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Meetings of the Minds in partnership with BronxNet Television. Each episode is designed to highlight the work of our members and partners, as well as to understand the resources they are providing to take our communities to the next level. More importantly, I believe you will see firsthand who supports you so that you get a clear understanding on who you need to support. That's right. It takes a community, and nothing will prove this effective if we don't support each other. We are still a membership organization. So if you're not yet a member, if you're not yet a part of a familia, what's taking you so long? Just visit www.hispanicchamber.nyc, www.hispanicchamber.nyc, or engage with us on LinkedIn on New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, all spelled out. Tell us what's going on. You know, the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is always on the lookout for the new faces of entrepreneurship. The ones who are on the come up, the ones who are on the grind. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Coviello Salines, founder of Amour Geneve, Blue Verdejo Chardonnay wine. Yes, a blue wine. Hola, Coviello, ¿cómo estás and how's your family?
Hi, ¿cómo estás? How you doing, everybody? Hi, Sulma. Thank you so much, and thank you, BronxNet, for having me on. My familia is fantastic. 2022 has been kind of up and down, a little weird transition, but everybody's acclimating very well. So thank you for that.
Oh, you got it. You know, we have no other choice at this point, right? We got to just live as best as we can, healthy and peacefully. So you're the founder of the only blue Chardonnay in the market. Yeah. Tell us that story. Why the wine business?
It's quite a story. So the wine business, it wasn't something that I necessarily thought I was going to get into, but, you know, like many things, some gifts are given to you. And this was, I believe, was definitely a gift. It was a message in a bottle I like to share with people, since this was a tribute to my father. My father was a huge advocate of the color blue, and he also loved wine. He was a Marine. And he used to travel on his deployments, and he always used to bring back a different type of wine to pair with his food. He was like an amateur chef, and he would explain to me the pairing aspect and just share with me his journeys and share with me his stories that he went through when he was on his deployments with the Marines. So, you know, I lost my father in my junior year of college, and, you know, I wanted to do something that was attributed to him because he always told me about the blueprint in life. The blueprint is the thing that's going to allow people to be inspired and then in due turn aspire to be something more bigger or in your footsteps, right? Like a carbon copy. So, you know, I ended up studying biochemistry, petroleum engineer. And, you know, it's one of those things that when you get into the field, you know, if you enjoy science, it's like, okay, yes, I'm in a field that I know can span to any bit of science. But, you know, when I got into the field, it was something that was kind of, I wasn't really feeling the whole ecosystem.
Stop you right there. Because I need people to really understand that we're not just talking to a winemaker over here. We're speaking to a biochemist, okay? So we are gonna go deep into science right now with Coviello. Okay, how did you being a biochemist help this blue wine? Talk to us about it. I just wanted to set the premise for everybody.
Well, that was everything. Yeah, that was everything. And thank you for pointing that out, because a lot of people, they're like, biochemists, they're like, what is that? Like, a lot of people don't even like going into like their everyday math curriculums in college. So it's like when you say biochemistry, you know, there's many things that, you should point out there. For me, like, I'm a principal scientist. So when you look at different levels of becoming a scientist, you look at, your specific, well, I can say it like this. You have professors, you have scientists that work with pharmaceutical companies that figure out the different compounds and how to sell the product. And then you have people like myself that actually figure out every single scalability of what material or matter can be, and then break down a composition to create it into something else. So that's principle. So what I ended up doing with this was I ended up figuring out the key components of the grape skins and the grape pores that can stabilize the color of pH. Now, what that means is you have to remove these certain compositions, which I utilized the hydrogen and oxygen from the skins, ran it through a centrifuge, figured out a nice analysis scale to figure out how to move that threshold of pH from acidic level into an alkaline, allowing the color then to stabilize, and then introducing it to a Spanish white wine. So you see it on the backdrop here. It is a very, very a unique type of blue that definitely has a nice, I guess, photographic look to it. But this color blue makes up every type of blue that you see in the color spectrum of blue. And yeah, like stating, it was my father's favorite color. So I wanted to make sure every blue was compensated in this. So, and 350 attempts to do was not easy. That was one of the hardest things. It took 1.5 years just to construct the color.
This is so impressive. And we could talk about this all day, but, and it's extremely impressive. But what's, I think, probably maybe equally as impressive is that you are also the owner of the largest Black Latino owned distributor in North America. Tell us how you transitioned into this. And I'm just here to take it's some bits of pieces of Coviello and his mastermind, but I know we need more conversation. But how did you transition into that, and what made you go into the wine distribution business?
Well, see, the one thing that I noticed about business was that, you have to be adaptable and you have to transition. That's the most important thing. And being able to understand where the money relies is the most important thing too. In distribution, that is one of the most important things that keeps the ball running when it comes down to these brands, right? Being a brand owner, being a importer, being a negotiant, an individual that focuses on building the brands, that's cool and all, but really having control in the hub of where these products sit is the most important, especially since we live in a 3-tier system in the United States, which states that it has to go from an importer, a distribution, and then to the retailer consumer level. So in my mind, I just naturally thought, all right, well, if I need a distribution to actually hold my product, why not work with a distribution company that is not only Black owned, but one of the first Black owned distribution companies ever. So I ended up partnering with Black Hawk Import, which is a distribution company that focuses solely on a lot of great fine wines, right? And since my wine was one of a kind and I was going around and, pitching my product, I'm like, hey, maybe there's space to actually pitch all these other products. And when I started to figure out a portfolio and figure out a game plan of how to actually build the business properly, and a little bit different from how these other distribution companies run things, because again, being Afro-Latino, you usually don't see too many of us in the field when it comes down to these big distribution companies. They just come, they drop product, and then they leave. But, for me, I wanted to actually build a living, breathing ecosystem around these brands, because I think it's very important that people understand not only what they're drinking, but also where it's coming from and how they're able to enjoy it with the people that are sharing it with them. So I ended up taking that route, and not only now having that distribution, we're now opening up our first cafe and lounge in LES, which is Lower East Side, February 1st. And King's Cafe. It's the 3-tier trifecta, 3-tier trifecta.
So, this is, I didn't know. This is a surprise to me. I should have done my research, but I don't know if it's been announced yet. But this is fantastic. You are a gem of knowledge, and more importantly, you're proactive in the plans that you have. What advice do you have for our young people?
Oh, the young people. Look, well, I have
On
two
the
things.
come up, right? On the come up.
Yeah. I have two things I want to say. Because realistically, the youth nowadays are very quick learners, and they're kind of no BS. Every time I go talk to the students, I want to make sure that the actual staff and the adults know that what I'm going to tell these kids is exactly what they need to hear, because these kids are so in tune with social media and so in tune with the internet, right? I remember when we had dial-up back in the day. I think I'm the last generation that understands how to not live with internet and to be able to live with internet. I'm the last generation, I believe. But these kids nowadays, that's what they're known for, and their receptors in their mind are constantly firing because their brain is under so many different externalities and these different distractions that are being brought in. So you got to be very quick with them. You got to be very accustomed to them, and that's for the adults, you know. But when it comes down to the kids, I tell them, you know, regardless of the education that you are seeking, and regardless of what it is that you want to do or what your parents are telling you to do, there's always things out there that you won't be able to see until you become experienced in it. And a lot of these kids in high school or just getting into high school are being told what to do from parents that are in distress right now. You know, a lot of these parents are in distress because we're in a very different type of climate in our economy. So a lot of these parents are telling their kids, no, you got to become a doctor. No, you got to become this. No, you got to become something that's going to make you money instead of becoming an entrepreneur. Because a lot of the older generation, the more mature generation, sometimes don't think entrepreneurship is something that can generate you money quickly, right? And just having a career will give you that longevity. But realistically, that may not be it all the time, right? Like, we see that there's no such thing as pensions anymore, hardly, and there's no such thing as Social Security anymore, hardly. So, you know, what is it going to look like for these kids nowadays, where a lot of these kids can't really communicate? They can't really be able. They can't assimilate to certain things. They just get very much distracted by these worldly things, you know. So you got to be very quick and upfront with them and let them figure it out on their own. That's the most important thing I tell them. You know, just figure it out on your own and experience as many things as you can possibly experience, and learn quick. Learn quick and fast.
Absolutely. And in a positive way, of course. And I will also, and thank you so much for that. How do we get in contact with you?
Absolutely. Well, my name is Coviello Salines, so you can look that up anywhere, Coviello Salines. And you can look up Amour Geneve right here, Amour Geneve. That may look backwards, but it's Mour. It's in French. It's not like amour in Spanish, but Amour in French, and Geneve, Geneve. And you can find me on Instagram, Mr. Coviello and Amour Geneve. And like I said, I'm everywhere, so you can always just look me up, and mostly I'll be in a city near you or an event near you, and you can reach out to our team. We got a great team as well. So, you know, we always look, we're always happy to hear from our loyal fan family. That's what we call them. So
we so appreciate you so much for sharing your story with us, Coviello, and who this is attributed to, and the time that your father took in to build you into the incredible human that you are today. And this is what we're all about in the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, to bring you those stories, right, that can resonate with each and every one of us. If you're not yet a member of the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, please visit www.hispanicchamber.nyc. Follow us on LinkedIn and engage with us. New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, all spelled out. Happy 2022, everyone. We look forward to bringing you more resources and more inspirational people like Coviello Salines. Definitely support him. See you next time.
peace.